Welcome to Downshift. My name is Matt. We just got done in the Durango Hellcat. This thing is a supercharged V8, over 700 horsepower family SUV. And today we're going to show you everything that you need to know about this beast. The first thing we'll talk about is what is this thing? We kind of mentioned it earlier. It's the Dodge Durango. We first saw this thing in 2011 and it's kind of soldiered on since then, but Dodge has stuffed in the 6.2 liter Hellcat engine underneath. So let's talk about that. And like we said, under the hood here lurks the Hellcat engine. We originally saw this thing in 2015 and it hasn't changed a whole lot, but here in the Durango it's tuned for 710 horsepower, 645 pound-feet of torque. All that goes through a snappy ZF 8-speed gearbox. And then to all four wheels. And with all-wheel drive traction, you're getting 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. A top speed, 180 miles an hour. I'll remind you at this point, this is a family 3-row SUV doing that speed. And of course, since it's a Dodge and it's a Hellcat, what's the quarter mile? 11 seconds from the factory. Insane. And yes, it's fast, and yes, it's powerful, but for me, you already know, it's all about the sound. This thing sounds incredible. The snarl from the V8, the whine that you get from the supercharger coming out of this upgraded performance exhaust finished in black as courtesy of the blackout package, sounds epic.
Yes, you also have a valved exhaust, which is supposed to cut down on some of the drone that you have. You do get a little bit of drone when you're in eco mode because it doesn't want to downshift, unfortunately. But yeah, not as many snap, crackle, and pops as we had in the Escalade, but still an incredibly sounding beast.
And of course, with all this sound and performance and everything, comes at a price, and that's fuel economy. Now this thing is rated for 13 mpg, at least according to the window sticker, but what we've been getting, and what you'll probably get, is 11, or maybe even single digits if you just love the right pedal. You never get tired of that sound. Now, one of the cool things is the comfort menu. Now, this isn't inherently interesting, but it is when your driver or your climate guy is wearing the helmet. The only other time we've seen this is in the McLaren GT.
Yeah, that was interesting. One other interesting thing here, though, is if you click on him again, his helmet gets removed. I'm assuming it's because he's so hot that he needs to cool his head off a little bit.
He's
that
bald,
he has to
too.
take his helmet. Wow.
I kind of thought they would program him with like a mullet.
Right, yeah.
That would have been cooler. So this thing seems pretty cool so far, but some people are a little bit upset. And this is why. So this thing came out as 2021 model year for the first time with the Hellcat engine. And Dodge said they were only going to make it for 1 year. And they did make it for that year. So all the collectors went out to their dealerships and paid markups and got the 1-year exclusive Durango Hellcat. And that was great. But then 2022 came around. And then they made it again. And this is a 2023, so now we're in our 3rd model year of a 1-year limited run vehicle. So, sorry to the collectors, but for everyone else who now gets to enjoy this thing, we just won. So they stuffed a big engine in it, but you need to do more to make it a performance SUV. So you need to do things like open it up for cooling. If you didn't have so much cooling, you would lose power. So with the hood venting and all of the front fascia venting, you can make that 710 horsepower that you so desperately need in your 3-row family SUV. But you also need to be able to stop and turn your family SUV. So you've got big 15.5-inch Brembos up front, finished in red, looks fabulous across this satin black wheel. And of course, it's wrapped in an aggressive Pirelli P0 Sport tire. These are pretty good, but watch our track stuff because we'll talk about that more later. And then front and rear, you've got performance adaptive suspension. It's a little bit firm, but I think that's kind of the point. And then we get to the back here, and again, 14.5-inch brakes, but you also have an electronic limited slip differential out back so you don't spin any tires unnecessarily. And this thing's just kind of old. This Durango came to us in 2011, which makes it almost as old as a 4Runner. So that kind of shows itself on the interior here. For example, if you had the rear seat entertainment package optioned, you'd have a Blu-ray player that takes up most of your center console. We don't have that, so that's pretty good. But then down here, you've got your wireless charger, but you can see it's like raised up, like probably not 6 inches, but like 3 inches. So it looks a little bit like an afterthought. And this 12 volt used to be over here, but they moved it over here to make room for the wireless charger. And then finally, pretty much everything in this segment, including the main competitor Escalade V, gets a fully digital gauge cluster with additional screen here and here. This one, just a semi-digital. But despite it being a little bit old, you do have some pretty decent tech features in here. You've got this big Uconnect 5 system. It is a little bit laggy, but you have most of everything you'd want. Wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Funny thing is, you go into reverse, you don't have a 360 camera, and this looks exactly like the graphics from Need for Speed Most Wanted. That is to say, not great, not terrible. But again, there's some charm in some of the infotainment. It absolutely does not take itself seriously, and it's ultimately not bad. And most of that charm is on display if you press this button right here. This is your SRT button. So we'll push that here. If you press it right away when you start it up, it's gonna lag, but here it'll take you directly to your drive mode screen. And you've got all this customizability that you can do here. You've got a snow mode, which will send your all-wheel drive into 50-50. You've got a sport mode, which will stiffen things up, engage your paddle shifters, and then of course a track mode, which is gonna turn your traction control off and send 70% of your power to the back. But if you go into this SRT button here, you can go into your performance pages, which then gives you access to things like timers for your 0 to 60, your quarter mile, and that sort of thing. You've got gauges that'll give you temperatures and battery status, and you've got a dynamometer, which will track your power and torque readouts. You've got a G meter, of course, including pitch and roll, because this is a family SUV, and you can even take a snapshot for some reason. And you've got vehicle dynamics, which will give you differential information as well as steering angle. But then back at the dashboard, we can go into race options, which is the third option. And you can customize and program how aggressive you want your launch control to be. You can launch as hard as 3,500 RPM or as soft as 1,500 RPM. And you can even engage shift lights to remind you to shift at 6,000 RPM or lower. First, second, third, and fourth, and fifth through eighth are grouped together. But something that's not performance oriented is towing. Now the premium package gets you upgraded towing capabilities, or at least engages your towing capabilities, and as spec'd, this Durango Hellcat, or all Durango Hellcats, will be able to tow 8,700 pounds, which is a shocking amount considering that the max that you can get in a Chevy Colorado and a GMC Canyon is 1,000 pounds less, half a ton less. This will also tow more than a GLS 63, it'll tow more than an X7. This thing has some proper muscle, not just with performance, but also with towing. It's also pretty practical too. I will say, I don't love where it's placed for the release. Just put it under here like every other car. It also takes about a day and a half to open. But once it is open, you have a pretty decent sized trunk, I will say, for a 3-row SUV. And you open this up, and you have some pretty good storage underneath. It's not bad. Funny thing is, my parents had a 2011 Honda Odyssey, and this is exactly how those seats went down. Now they are easy to get down, and they go down pretty quickly, and then you have a very cavernous space indeed. But it is just kind of some things that remind you that this isn't the most modern vehicle, especially compared to its Escalade counterpart. And the only other thing that I don't know how I feel about is the close button being right here. Again, everywhere else it's up there.
Just SRT things.
But I do really like the spec that you get here, and I love the naming conventions that Stellantis, FCA, whatever, Dodge wants to give these cars. This one is called Destroyer, as in like a naval destroyer. And it looks pretty good. It's kind of like a Nardo, but it looks great with the blackout package. It gets you all the black accents in your front fascia. You've got sharp LED running lights. We'll lay a B-roll clip over so you can really see it, but it looks really good. It says Dodge LED right in here with the little fins. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. And then around the side, it looks good. You've got 20-inch wheels. Again, satin black looks great with the red. This red gets overdone on performance cars. I think this is a nice, tasteful spec. You've got the Hell Kitty badge right here on your front fender. Black mirrors. Interestingly, not black window treatments. I mean, they kind of aren't really window treatments. It's just part of the door. But objectively, it looks pretty good. And then around back, you've got a little bit of a spoiler up here, full with LED tail bar, SRT Hellcat logo down here, and then a textured rear bumper, and then a blacked out diffuser, kinda, not really, and then dual exhaust. And to me, I think it looks really good. And for something in this class, it actually has some pretty good luxuries. All of your stuff is right here. You've got heated seat 3-level, cooled seat 3-level, and interestingly, with Uconnect 5, you can tell that this is a bit older and it's gotten newer here. This, of course, reflects what you've got going on down here. But you also do have a heated steering wheel, and for whatever reason, the heated steering wheel button is double the size of either of the heated
massive.
seats. So the heated steering wheel is king, and it gets hot in here quickly. But you also have some pretty nice stuff going on in the back.
Yeah, so in the back you have 2 captain chairs, and you have this center console here, which is kind of nice. 2 for beverages. Climate controls up here, makes you feel like a fighter pilot.
Very minivan to me.
Yeah, seriously. Or minivan, fighter pilot or minivan, pick your poison. Then down here you have 2 level heated seats, no cooled seats back here. USB, no USB-C, and you also have a conventional outlet.
And since we talked about the second row, we have to talk about the third row. But I do want to say, I also do like the SRT embossments on. You get it on the front and you get it in the rear. But getting into the third row, it's a little unideal. You have to do this pull here, so fold the seat. It is manual, it's pretty quick. And then you grab this red pulley, and then it's nice and out of the way. I did hit myself twice on this little fang, but getting in here is actually not too bad. Then you put it back into place. I'm 6'1". I have okay room. Actually, it's not terrible. I have about an inch of knee room. I don't really want to sit back here, but I like the self-awareness that you only have 2 seats rather than trying to stuff 3 back here. That's just a lie. You're not getting 3 humans back here. You also don't have chargers back here. It doesn't say SRT on the seats like it did up front. You do have air vents though. And one of my favorite features here is you have the dual hinging for your center console. And you can flat load things on that surface.
I'm assuming 2x4s.
Yeah, probably man stuff. And the final thing we'll talk about is price. Now, as starting MSRP, a Durango Hellcat starts about $91,000. This one is optioned up to about $106,000. So we've crossed that 6-figure threshold, which sounds like it's going to be a big deal until, like I said, the main rival to this thing being the Escalade V, which has a starting price, again, 91 starting here. The Escalade V starts at $150,000. So $60,000 more to start in the Cadillac. But let's grab the keys.
Do you see what I meant?
Yeah.
Ah! See that?
Oh, it's a big girl.
Yeah.
Oh, she's a big girl.
That part just makes me a little squealish.
Oh, and then, yeah, getting it stopped and turned. Great shifting, though.
A lot of weight.
Shifts. Yeah, you can feel the tires.
So you see how it kind of like cut out there a little bit?
Mm-hmm. You have so much corner exit power.
I know.
You can feel the tires struggling in the cold here and with the weight.
Woo. Yeah, the corner power is just insane. As soon as you're off that brake and you hit the throttle, this corner is still giving me a little bit of problems.
It's like the second apex. Don't hit the first, but hit the second.
Whoops.
Here we go. Get it turned. And on power. 105.73. There we go. Oh, see now, it doesn't want to brake and turn.
Nice.
Oh, I could go deeper. Oh, it is big. It's got more front end. It's just cold. I think it's got more front end than I'm giving it credit for. I just can't feel anything, so I'm not trusting it.
Yeah, it's hard to feel it in the steering wheel. I feel like it has pretty good grip for
Okay, we're wide.
size.
Yeah, I would agree. This is a sloppy, sloppy lap. Okay.
102. So maybe by 3 seconds. That's pretty good.
Oh my god, that felt really gross.
You had a lot more to give for sure.
I think what I was struggling most with is like I'm not getting anything from the steering.
Yeah.
And then some corners I'm feeling like I have got more front end and I can lean on the tire more. And then in some corners it's just giving up. Durango Hellcat. I mean, it just never gets old.
No.
It just never gets old. It is just V8 sound and supercharger whine. It's the whine for me, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it doesn't have as the crack snapples and props that the Escalade V had, but it makes up for that in supercharger whine, and I think the combination is really, really good. This thing is just so much fun. It's been an incredible week.
It's outrageous. I'm glad that we had a chance, and it wasn't ideal conditions, but I'm glad we had a chance to kind of put it around the track. I know that Hellcats are not about track times or road courses or anything like that, but it was really interesting to kind of feel that duality of performance, because it is big and it's heavy and you feel nothing from the steering, you feel nothing from the braking, but you just have so much power. Oh, and the gearbox. I love a sound and snap. I always say that's what I'm about.
Yeah, the ZF in here is really, really good. I mean, this thing is just so much fun. Like, if you ever get a chance to drive one or you're looking to get one, what people say, the reviews that you see on YouTube, it's like, it's all true. It is just such a riot to be in and experience. And I think they did a good job. Like, you know, the build quality in here, some of the features that they have, it's not the latest technology, it's not the greatest cameras, but I think that they sacrificed in the right areas and they still give you enough where, like, you know, it's not, compared to the Escalade, it's $40,000, $50,000 cheaper.
That's a huge amount.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I agree with you. There's, like, if I'm nitpicking, the only thing that I would maybe want that this doesn't have is a 360 camera. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of it. It has pretty much everything else. It's got the heated seat, the cooled seat, the CarPlay. It's even wireless. Like, it's got all the stuff that I want, and then it's got this.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I asked my wife, Kaylee, like, what do you think of the interior of this car? I was going to maybe see if she thought it felt cheap or it was lacking anything, and she seemed like it was, you know, so to the naked eye, I feel like people think that this interior is nice enough. It's good enough for anyone to kind of think. But I think if you're a car reviewer, we have that kind of critical eye. We're quick to kind of say,
stuff, so we have comparisons.
Little creak here, little creak there. These buttons feel a little bit wonky, but yeah, it is just so incredible. And I think one of my favorite parts is just like how intuitive the some of the racing features and the SRT dashboard
it's so
is.
Funny.
The drive modes, and like to launch this thing, it's so easy compared to some other cars. It's a lot.
Push the button.
It's a lot difficult to. It's
you don't have to like hold the paddles and then like wait for 20 seconds and then hope the tooth fairy comes. Like,
right.
You just push the button and then you're off.
Yep.
But no, what you were saying about the interior, my wife did the same thing. She sat in here and she's like, I like this thing. And then I turned it on and revved and she was like, I don't like this thing anymore. But yeah, like, it's not bad. And I kind of was expecting, okay, well, it's not an Escalade. It's like so much less money. Like, it's going to be worse or bad in some way. It's not. It like really does bring just everything that you want and need. God, and that's that shift.
Yeah.
So yeah, last question. I'm going to chill it out in auto mode. We were in the Escalade V this time last year. Mm-hmm. Had a week in it. Now I've had a week in this. Let's say money's no object. What are you taking?
Oh, money isn't an object.
Yes.
I think if money is an object, it's a different conversation. But I think I would have to go with the Escalade V just because it's a bit more elevated, sophisticated. I felt like I got a different look in this thing this week. Like, people were judging me.
Yeah,
because
the cultural aspect is different.
And I didn't really have the same experience in the Escalade V, but I would say if it was my money and I had to buy something, you would probably see me in this over the Escalade V. Because
that's exactly
that price difference, you get so much here for what I would personally be after if I was in the market for these two things.
Yes.
That I think this is good enough for a great price point. They did a nice job here.
100%. I think, yeah, price withstanding, I think both ways I'm taking this, to be honest.
Really?
Although I really, really did love the sound. That Escalade V was so dramatic on just the pops.
Yeah, I just think.
But if I could get that in here, it'd be no question.
And I'm sure you could tune this to get that. There were just little things like, you know, the outside exterior styling of this car is a bit older. Like the Escalade V had the nice modern LED taillights and the headlights, and like I kind of like how sharp that thing looked. This thing kind of shows its age a little bit on the exterior view, but yeah, it's been an incredible week, and if you're in the market for this, definitely go test drive it because it is a riot.
Yes, this thing has been such an incredible machine. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Kelly and Dodge for letting us have a go, and we'll see you in the next one.